live.
Sure.
Welcome back, NFC East fans, the National Conferences podcast. We are a weekly podcast. Each week we'll, the first it just ended, and the second half we'll look at the week ahead. This week we're coming to you live on YouTube. Producer is out of the house in Bermuda for a couple of days, so we're doing it all by ourselves here. We got Greg in Philly. We got Randy out there representing Dallas. We got Chris, Topher Pete, Giants, and Paul Douglas representing the Redskins. We also got a little internal competition aside from just talking about things. We got a little internal competition going. Last week, our categories for the points were overs plus or minus total, which was won by Dallas with a +3 point for Randy and the Cowboys. Second category was rushing touchdowns, total rushing touchdowns. Went to Paul Douglas for his first point of the year, 2 touchdowns rushing. And the last category was interceptions for the defense, which was another win for Randy and Dallas for 2 points. So on the year here, Randy is crushing it. 9 points. Greg and Philly with 4 points. Chris and the Giants with 2 points. And Washington getting its first point this week for first win for Paul and the Commanders there. So I think we're going to lead off with Randy, talk about how the Cowboys did out there in week 4, how you're doing in the internal competition, and also let's welcome back Nostradamus on a perfect week of picks. After small stumbling block in week 3, he's back on top of his game and giving us all the teams to bet on.
All right. Well, it was a good week again. Obviously, the Cowboys won, similar to the first 2 weeks. Scored run-ups, 40 points to 3, 10, 0, whatever. The past couple, with the one blimp, that's how every game's been. I feel like Trayvon Diggs was a pretty big loss at the beginning of, or at the middle of the week there. I feel like that was part of Arizona. Also, a little bit of overconfidence. It was good to see the Dallas offense actually show up and be able to put some points in the red zone. That was a struggle. Of course, the defense still seems like they lead the team in scoring, but no, it was pretty interesting. You're talking about my picks. I would say that the only caveat, I'd be even better if I didn't keep overestimating the Giants. I continually have thought they're going to cover spreads or at least be competitive, and they just continue to not be.
I do it too.
Randy, let me point out. Actually, last week you did not believe in the Giants. I will quote of the week: the New York Giants in a blaze of glory, and that was.
You're right. I'm starting to learn my lessons. But no, the biggest thing I got to say, Greg, is to you in Philadelphia again. You guys are squeaking out some very close wins in every game. And if that ref would have called that one play a little bit differently, chances are you guys would have had a loss. And I feel like that's how a lot of your games go. There's so many of your games have been called by last year by a score, by a funky call, or whatever that you might as well squeak out. The Eagles do. They always find a way to win, and they do win. But I can't wait till you start playing some quality games down the gauntlet to really give you a run for your money. I do believe the Eagles play up and down to the talent of the teams they're playing. I think they're going to have some fun, and I actually think all the shit I talk on the Giants. I actually think that I think it's week 15 and 17, the Giants are going to have some fun with them. I feel like at some point the Eagles are going to start choking up a little bit. Paul, your Commanders, I should say, pretty impressed. They're continuing to be that probably just a touch middle of the pack or maybe a touch above, but I think they're improving. We were talking about Fields before we went online and how much he stands in the pocket. I still see Howell. It just seems like he loves to take sacks. Just a couple interesting little statistics here to back up my whole thing with you Eagles. Right now, the Giants have been outscored 122-46. The Eagles, or Washington, has been outscored 89-120. The Cowboys have outscored all their teams 124-41. and the Eagles 115 to 81, which makes that an average of less than 10 points over 4 games. I think that you guys are going to have some interesting run-ins the rest of the year, and I'll turn it over to you, Greg.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go rebuttal at you. I think that you do make some good points. However, when I look at that Dallas team, I still think you have trouble in the red zone, just like us, if not worse than us, to be honest with you. I think out of your 38 points, CeeDee Lamb scored a touchdown, and you had a garbage rushing touchdown at the end of the game, and the rest was defense and special teams and field goals. So, I mean, I love that you're very confident in your team and you're on your high horse. Again, you played 2 teams from New York who are well below average, and you lost to Arizona, which is one of the worst 5 teams in the league. So I love that you're enthusiastic. I love that you're excited, and I love that you just think that the cream of the crop. But I'm looking at the standings here, and I see the Eagles are 4-0, and Dallas is 3-1. I see that you guys are going to San Francisco next week. So what it's going to come down to is who can get the most wins. And we'll talk about next week's predictions at the second half, but like I said earlier, the last couple of weeks, I see us 6-2, 7-1, or 8-0 in the first 8 games, and I see us, at the top of the East with that. But kind of breaking down the game, it was an NFC East game. It was against Washington. We always play one close game with Washington every year. Last year we were in 8-0, and Washington came in and they ripped us. I don't know why we don't get up for these games as much as I thought we would. I thought it would be a close game, and it was. Moving Bradbury to the inside and playing more of the nickel or the inside cover corner is not working out well. And I think us signing Roby this afternoon, the former Saint, to the practice squad is proving that. We do have injuries just like everyone else. We had a couple bonehead plays. We had some questionable calls both ways as far as officiating. I don't know if you're talking about we got lucky. I mean, if he caught that ball and came down on Reed Blankenship's arm, if he wouldn't have come down on that arm, that would have been a catch. We could have lost that game. I think we also had some questionable play calling. I think that when you have the ball and it's a tie game with 1:43 to go and it's 2nd and 4, you run the clock. I mean, we showed that the week before against Tampa, where we took 9 minutes off the final drive, that we can do it. But I think they saw something outside and exploited with a double move and got AJ open, but they left a minute and some left for Sam Howell. And then we get in this prevent defense and we just, bend but don't break. And we got lucky. We did. But, hey, a win is a win is a win. We're 4-0, and I'll take it. I look at the Dallas game. We talked about that. Dallas's defense is dominant. I think they're really, really good. I think they got weaknesses, but I think they're really good. You're going to have to run at Parsons and make Parsons make that quick decision. You're going to have to do it. And we'll see what San Fran does. I'm assuming they're going to attack Purdy. We'll talk about that later, but, I'm going to be interested. They're going to lay the blueprint. Arizona tried to, but we'll see. And then you got New York up there. Chris, I'm sorry, man. It's tough. It's tough. It's all good, tough sledding, It makes me want to call him Danny Penny, not Danny Dimes, because it's, a little bit of him, a little bit of play calling. Like I was talking to a couple of friends on last night, came to the sideline when your coach was getting in his ear, and he just looked like he had no idea where he was or what he was doing. We talk about that. Like, what do you do against those defenses?
Which time was that? I know one time. I know one time
when he threw the tablet.
Yeah. Well, The first one I thought was ironic, not to interrupt your little.
No, you're good.
Your part, but the third down and 11, they had miscommunication and we ran it.
Yeah.
And Daniel was actually pissed. He came in and yelled and was like, "Why wouldn't we throw it?"
Yeah.
And it turned out it was miscommunication. When he threw the tablet, I thought it was crazy that he just ignored him at first.
Yeah,
like,
and they chased after him a little bit.
Coach got in his face, the tablet. Jones grabbed his own tablet, and then he got pissed and threw the tablet to the QB coach. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
they're not getting along right now.
No, and it should be interesting to see. You know, we watch the preseason games, we hear everybody have conversations, and Waller comes in, and it's going to be the savior. It's going to be, you know, when you need him for those quick 7 yards, 8 yards. When people are bringing in blitzes, he's your check down guy, and it's like I don't see him. I don't see him being utilized. Yeah. So it's one of those things. So it's early. It's week 4.
It's crazy, Greg.
What's up, buddy?
It's crazy,
that
Greg.
Really caught me off guard.
No, it's crazy, Greg. You're talking about this, and I actually asked Paul the other day. Tight ends in the league this year have just been quiet.
Yeah.
Across the board, Dallas Goedert, Paul, Logan Thomas. Dallas, I mean, you hardly even know there's a tight end on the field. I was reading about Pitts from Atlanta. You know, they're using him mainly as a blocker. Yeah. It is weird. How is it not helping your team to have Darren Waller there?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think these defenses, these D coordinators are just you know, we see it. I see it every week against the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. You know, they're trying to take away the run and make Jalen beat you, and that's what we did last week. You know, I think we had 100 total yards rushing and like 300. I don't know if he had 300 statistically. I think Jalen Hurts had one of his better games, but it's just, you know, it's just different this year, you know. And last year we were sort of in the same thing. We were riding the 8-0 train, and then we got hit by Washington, and then we picked it back up and continued and had a good, successful year. But like Randy has pointed out many times, after our first 8 games, our season gets very, very difficult. So it's going to be a challenge, you know. So we'll see. But Paul, what was your take on the game?
Well, to be exact, you had 104 rushing yards as a team. So for that played to my game plan that I had for them to the T.
Yeah.
You know, stop the run, and you know you're going to give yourself a chance. Sam Howell did grow up a little bit after throwing 4 interceptions to 0 against a much better defense. Now, to Randy's point, he does stand there like, you know, with the ball in his hand, like, you know, it's like it's glued to his hand. You got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, you know, throwing it out of bounds, as long as it's, you know, not going to be intentional grounding. As long as you're out of the pocket, throw it away and live to play another down. But anytime a quarterback takes a hit, it's not good.
Yeah, I will say, not to interrupt you, but I will say the one thing that he did, I think, very well was get out of situations where Carter had him gripped up. Fletcher Cox had him gripped up, and he lived to see another down. Even though he didn't throw it away, he escaped. He had some decent yardage, and if we weren't there in 2 seconds, 2.5, he was releasing quick, and I'll give him that. It was quick, and I think Bieniemy is brilliant. I think he just had a really good philosophy for that game and executed it.
Yeah, I mean, I really was happy.
Paul,
Go for it.
Go ahead, Paul. Well, I just have a question for you. You too. Somewhat unbiased, maybe a little bit of opinion, but right now, if you say Eagles Cowboys play, you two both probably hate each team. Which one would you two pick as a winner of the game right now?
Mine is an easy one. Mine is going to be the Eagles. But part of my segment was actually going to be to talk trash about the Eagles and actually kind of praise Dallas a little bit. And even specifically Dak Prescott. Yeah, I kind of thought you'd shut up. You know, Dak looked very poised. He was very efficient for the first time in a while, from what I saw. You didn't really need the offense like you did, the week before. And I think that he actually, you know, even though there were 2 touchdowns on defensive special teams, I think he looked really good when he was out there. He did start to use the tight end a little bit, Jake Ferguson, who's actually on. I don't do this often, but about 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm going to find out if I won that waiver wire pick for Jake Ferguson on one of my fantasy teams. So, I do think that tight ends are underutilized, and I think they're the greatest asset ever. I would say that, and I was reading the same thing about the second half for the Eagles. Man, you got the Bills, you got the Dolphins, you got Dallas twice.
Kansas,
Oh my gosh, like
Miami.
You can go 8-0 to start with, but your second 8 are atrocious, and it's going to be you better be healthy. You better have all the baby Bulldogs all in check. Can't have any of them going all Chandler Jones and all that stuff. So I think you're going to need to really be ready. And when this conference starts to beat each other up every single week, you're going to need to be ready. And some of these games, it doesn't matter what the spread says. They're all rivalry games, and they're all going to be competitive.
Yeah.
So, I think, definitely should look out for that. Now, one thing I will say, I do have to go in on the Giants a little bit. You did try and do the tush push last night. It was so unsuccessful. You lost your center and your second tight end because they couldn't do the tush push properly. That was absolutely atrocious. If Daniel Jones didn't go to Duke, I probably would feel a little bit sorry for him. I don't have anything against the Giants at all. I don't have to. It doesn't matter.
Except they seem to beat you, but I don't understand that. But go
sure,
ahead.
I was at the game where we won. All I got to say is the one that I showed up to, things were different.
Yeah, that's a good feeling. I don't know that feeling right now.
God, you're getting me off my game here. Get me your juju's coming through the mic.
It's rough, man.
No, I mean that was it is rough. That was absolutely atrocious last night, and I did actually. Wife was yelling at me to turn off the TV, so I just set the timer and rolled over at the end of the third quarter and was like, I'm done. I think it was a little bit before that, and I heard the interception happen. So I threw on the glasses real quick to check it out, and I was like, yeah, it's a wrap. There's no coming back from this. This isn't going to be another Arizona game.
No, that's exactly when I walked out.
Yep. So, no, I got no problem turning it over to you right now because,
Well, I'll start.
You deserve your time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll break down the games a little bit. You guys did a great job. We're all in agreement. The NFC East, Paul, you say it every week. We always play each other really tough. And in the last so many years, the Cowboys owned us, the Eagles owned us. But for some reason, we do well against Washington. And like Greg said, Washington plays Philly well, and that was a good game. And when they were up 17-7, I was like, man, they could really. I think I was thinking about what you were saying, Randy, about, and I think they were going to be a decent team this year. I thought we were going to be a decent team this year. I think the snake bitten, like the injuries at the worst possible position. We're already weak at the offensive line. I pound that in your guys' ear every single week, and then like you said, you lose your center on that 4th and 1. And I'm telling you, I had flashbacks of the Dallas game. Like, same thing, man. We're running the ball well. We're going right down the field. Everything's looking good. We get to this 4th and 1. It reminded me of the blocked field goal, and Andrew Thomas got hurt. It's like we're snake bitten, man. So now we lose him. We got to move Ben Bredesen over. It's terrible. It's a disaster. From that point on, we already can't run a efficient offense, and I think that's the main thing. You're saying, well, why can't they get Darren Waller involved? In the preseason, that's all they shoved down our throats about Giants camp. I'm not going. They're talking about how good he looks. He's dominant. You can't stop him. Look at our first drive against Carolina. Look at the second half of the Arizona game. That's the team I thought I was going to see this year. I mean, you guys beat Daniel Jones up, and I'm going to tell you guys, 100% his fault last night. He's doing everything he possibly can. He has over 60-some yards rushing. He's running for his life every single play. He was hit 25 times. He was sacked 11 times. It's ridiculous. He made – I think the reason why I thought we were going to win the game is because Seattle is not playing good defense. Another thing they're very good offensively, but they're bad on 3rd and longs. Giants been getting teams in 3rd and longs, but we haven't been getting out of 3rd and longs. Like, our tackling's been bad. We're out of sync. Our defense actually played good enough to win the game. Like, when it was 14-3, if he scores on that drive's going well. He's getting beat up. He's taking so many unnecessary hits. And on top of it, they're running design runs for him. I don't understand it. It's almost like they're trying to get him killed. It's frustrating. But they're doing these design runs for him. He's running for his life. Every play is either a dink and dunk, a screen, a 2-yard. We had 2 plays over 10 yards. One of it was the one when he had a scramble. As soon as he hiked the ball, they come up the A gap on him. He runs out to the left side and dumps it off to Breida. Breida falls down. That should have been a big gain. That's like their biggest play of the game. And then the second interception, I'm not beating him up on it. We're losing 21 to whatever. He gets hit, throwing the ball across the middle. Terrible. The pick 6 was awful. He had Darren Waller. He needed to wait. I think he's shell shocked. I told you in the pre thing, they broke me. Like right now, I don't have no faith in them. I'm not picking them to win. I'm not picking them to cover this week. And they're not going to beat Buffalo. Like, even if we get everybody back this week, we're still like, you still got to get I think we will get better, Randy. We will start winning games, but we'll be 1-5. And by the time we start looking like the team I thought we were going to be, it's going to be too late. Like,
to clarify, Randy said you were going to start looking better. He didn't say you were going to start winning games.
I mean, I
don't want you to get ahead of yourself a little bit. Yeah, I feel sorry for Darren Waller.
And listen, honestly, I feel sorry for Daniel Jones. I mean, you guys rag on him, everybody rags on him, but the truth of the matter is he is shell shocked. He gets hit, his timer's off. Yeah. Last week he had Hyatt on one, but we had Hyatt on one play where we could have hit him. We had Wan'Dale Robinson. I keep telling you about Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale actually had a pretty good game. That's only his second game back since last November. He's getting open. He's playing okay. But, dude, everybody knows.
Yeah, I wonder how bad Daniel Jones really feels when he gets home and fills his jacuzzi up with $100 bills.
Yeah,
and just soaks in that for 2 hours because he just made $2 million for just literally sitting on his ass.
Trey Lance is always available.
I'm not changing how I feel about him. He is. I disagree with almost everything Randy said last week when he compared him to Dak. Daniel Jones is the reason why we went to the playoffs last year. He carried us. He carried us in the second half of the Arizona game. Dude, everybody knows what we're doing. It's horrible. But on the flip side, the defense did play better. The 2 big plays they scored on were piss poor tackling. But Geno Smith only had 110 yards. He had a QB rating of like 31. There was only 2 drives that were just barely over 40 yards. They really didn't eat us up. Defense played good enough to win the game, but that's on a team that's on our level. It's not like all the teams I was running off when I was talking about the Niners, the Eagles. Like,
was the tackle dirty?
The tackle dirty on Geno?
Geno, talk of the town.
He hit him late. Dude, I didn't get to see it the way you guys see it.
It's not about late. That's why they brought out the horse collar tackle. And maybe it wasn't to the T what a horse collar is, but what the horse collar is supposed to prevent is people falling down on the back of people's legs.
Yeah.
It was cool when it happened to T.O. and
he was pissed.
He was very hot. I give him.
It was cool when it happened to T.O. and it like broke his ankle or whatever. That was cool. But that's what it's supposed to avoid, and it did, and that's exactly what happened on that play. And it was a little bit late on top of that.
Yeah, it was a couple yards.
Yeah, he was.
I know I took a long time, dude. I'm saying I'm still not. I don't give up on my QB. I still love the kid. I feel sorry for him. He is shell shocked. The touchdown. I think he rushed that. He actually had a little bit of time. There was some pressure on him. He tried to fit it in between 2 people instead of throwing it in the back of the left side of the end zone where only he could catch it. That's what he should have did. His timer's off. He's getting banged around, not left and right. And I think that's why he ignored Dable. I think he's at the point where he's like, what do you want me to do? Like, it's awful. Like, I don't know. I can't speak for him, but he's not going to disrespect the coach. I think the coach kind of disrespected him. And I'm about to agree with you guys. He has to fire somebody. The O-line, I know the guys are bad, but he has to be held accountable somewhere. Fire an offensive line coach. Special teams, we had 4 penalties, 2 muff kicks. Like, letting balls go into the 1-yard line when you could have fielded it at the 18. Throwing a Dory Jackson back there again. The coach he's really effing it up right now.
Chris, I think this like really speaks volumes, but you know who the leading rusher in New York is right now?
Daniel Jones.
But Daniel Jones
by a lot.
Dude,
my point is, I said it week 1, they've got to start running the ball a bit more. I think they run fairly effectively, but I think they try and get Daniel to carry the team too much instead of running the ball more.
It's a big difference when you don't have Barkley there, though, because they're not. Nobody's scared of Breida.
But Breida's not bad.
He's not, but the line's
not bad.
The line's bad, and they respect Barkley a little bit more. So, like, for at least, like, people called on to what he can do well. Daniel Jones has to roll out and play action because he has to get away from the offensive line because he can buy time. He don't have any time, but everybody knows it's going to be a 2-yard pass, a 3-yard pass. They're headhunting at this point. Yeah. That's why his interceptions, I kept saying they're not his fault, but dude, they're getting hit the second they're catching it because people know what's coming anyway. The offense is
Yeah,
stale. It's ridiculous.
I would compare Daniel Jones, and this is not going to be a Kirk Cousins comparison, but to Footsteps, Shane Falco from The Replacements, one of the greatest football movies ever. They put the ball in the hands of the young kid, put it all on your shoulders, and you crumbled. And that's what's happening to Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, you can be a scab. You know, he'll end up as a scab in the XFL or something like that. You know, they're combining with the USFL. So in the springtime, you know, if he wants to,
we signed him.
He'll
He
have
ain't
an
going
he'll
anywhere.
have an
He's definitely
opportunity.
there. He's definitely there another year.
160 million. Yeah, he's there.
I mean, you
Just
can technically get out of it after the
There for a while.
but they're not going to get out of it.
Hopefully, inflation takes down the price of it. You can afford a guy like Trey Lance soon.
Just real quick, you asked that question about the Cowboys and the Eagles. I still give the Eagles the edge. I mean, the one thing about the Cowboys game, their defense dominated like it did week 1 and week 2. You really aren't scoring a lot of points. Dak did play a little better. You guys are right. I thought he looked a lot better, but he didn't have to do that. Like when Daniel Jones threw the pick inside the red zone or like he did last week against Arizona. You didn't get to that point. When you play a team like Philly and you need him to score, I think that's when you're going to run into problems. I think that's why I still give Philly the edge. But on the flip side of that, I think if Philly's going to lose a game, I can see them losing this week to the Rams.
We shall see
let's get
predictions.
it.
On that take, let's go ahead and get in there.
Let's start to get into week 5 a little bit here. Reset from week 4. We only in our internal competition, we only had 2 categories left on the spin wheel. So no spin wheel this week. Our last 2 categories to be for this week are going to be points allowed, the least amount of points that your defense gives up, and longest touchdown is left. So whichever team scores the longest touchdown of the week will get a point. And then our third one is going to
Can
be
I get some clarification?
a prop pick. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, longest touchdown. We may know or not know this answer, but is that offensive or defensive? I'm assuming.
Like the 90,
Absolutely, it is
so the
the
97-yard touchdown that
of any player
Daniel Jones threw.
that would
You asked
count
for that
last
last
week, I
week, and
believe.
Okay.
You asked for that last week.
97-yard touchdown to Seattle.
Our third category is going to be the over/under on your team's total. So Vegas sets a line every week for not only how much teams are expected to win by, but how many points teams are expected to score. And this week the numbers are Philadelphia 27.5. Score more than 27, you get a point for the week. Washington 25.5. You need 26 to get a point for the week. Dallas down to 20.5. Tough defense going against. If you can get 21, you'll get a point in our competition. And the Giants just 1 point behind. 0.5. Chris, you guys can put up 20 in that tough sledding game against Miami. You get a point for the week there. So why don't we go right to Chris? You waited patiently on the first segment. Why don't we lead off with you and talk a little bit about this upcoming high-flying offense going on down there?
Whew, it's going to be a tough one. Like I said, I think our defense is playing a little better. You know how these things go. Everybody's counting us out. Nobody thinks we have a shot. It could be one of those weird things. I'm not saying we're winning, Paul. It's not what I'm saying. But it could be one of those weeks. It could be one of those weeks where we do things a little bit better. We got some players back. I think we'll stick around for a little bit, and then they'll end up putting it away mid-third, beginning of the fourth, cover the whole 9 yards. I mean, we're not beating Miami. I'm not very confident with the longest touchdown. Like I said, he don't get no time to throw the ball. He definitely had no time for anything to develop over 10 yards. That's why I only had 2 passes over 10 yards. I'm not feeling very confident about that. And then as for the over 19.5, like, guys, we don't score any points. I'm not feeling good about scoring 19.5. 20 points, it's not in the cards for us, I don't think, this week.
It's going to be a tough one.
Any of the other matchups that you like or don't like out there for us?
The other matchups, Dallas, I think they are, what is the spread for Dallas? They are
+4.
+4. Yeah, like I said, I'm not very. Dallas thrives on their defense. I could see this being a tough game, but I do have to agree with Greg. I think the best way to attack Michael Parsons is to run at him, and I think if anybody can do it, the 49ers can do it. I do think Dallas goes down this week. I think the 49ers take care of them, and I think they take care of them pretty good. This is where you're going to see Dak. You're going to need him to score some points this week, and this is where he'll mess up. He looked comfortable last week. I can see him throwing a pick this week, and 49ers taking care of that game. The big one for me, the Rams, man. Eagles, I still don't think they hit their potential yet. Washington gave them a game. Washington always gives them the game, so I'm not really judging it on that. But Stafford's playing well. I mean, he don't have Cooper Kupp, and he's still playing very well. And I think the tightness in the games, I like his leadership. I feel good about the Rams beating Philly this week. Guys might think I'm crazy. I'm sure Greg will have a rebuttal about that. I think this is where you get your first loss. And the Commanders, I think you were 6.5 point favorites in that game. Am I right on that, Randy?
5.5.
Yeah.
5.5. Guys, I think you handle it pretty well. I think you beat them by 10 or more. I think the Commanders, what are you, 2-2 right now? I think they'll be 3-2. I think the Commanders will take care of the Bears this week. Mike, you'll like that. You don't want the Bears to win a game anyway.
Number one,
Yeah,
number
no, I
two
mean,
pick,
I'm
baby.
gonna, yeah, this is gonna stay up there for a while for the for the Bears here. If anybody
sticky
zooms
note.
in and looks at that, yeah, just a reminder that the Bears suck. And I'm really hoping to prove that. And I really don't want to hear too much about it because I don't want to hear too much about it next week if we lose. I really do. I really would prefer to win this game because we have hit the easier part of our schedule at the beginning. So I want to get the wins where we're supposed to get a win. Again, still hurts a little bit from the Eagles game, but I really feel good. If we can carry some of that confidence over, I really kind of want to put it on Chicago. I don't want to just take it lightly. Definitely not looking ahead. You can't look ahead at anybody in the NFL.
Mhm.
It's a professional football team. Everybody is. So, you definitely can't do that. But
Even when your line
I'm looking
couldn't
forward.
hold back Rutgers.
Yeah, well. As far as the other games, I think the Rams and the Eagles could be an interesting game. I want to see what Eagles defense can do up against those wide receivers that the Rams have. They don't have as much of a running game anymore, but Matt Stafford was getting beat up last week too. He was limping all over the place. So you got a couple of them baby Bulldogs coming in there and knocking him down. A couple of 350-pound fat guys sit on top of you a couple of times. It's going to hurt. You're going to feel it. Doesn't matter if it's a perfect, there's no such thing as a perfect fall if that happens. So, I think it's a very winnable game. I wouldn't call it a trap game, but I wouldn't call it a breeze either for the Eagles. I'm kind of going with if Aaron Rodgers was on the Jets, I think the Jets versus Cowboys is going to be similar to how the Niners and Cowboys is going to go. I think it's going to be a lot of defenders there. You're going to go Bosa versus Michael Parsons, and want to see what Christian McCaffrey can do. I think he had 4 touchdowns last week, and he really could have had 5. They just decided to do a successful tush push with Brock Purdy, for the 5th touchdown. But I'm glad they're making it the game of the week, and I'm really looking forward to actually watching that one because it'll be competitive. As far as I guess what we're looking for this week, I think Vegas is obviously thinking that we're going to trounce the Bears also. So I think if we can score 20, I think that's a pretty decent number. We did it against a really good defense last week. So I think we can do it again.
Absolutely.
As far as the longest touchdown, unless somebody breaks open, it's not going to be from a bomb that Sam Howell shows. He throws. He hasn't shown that ability quite yet. He's not just, I don't want him just slinging it down there like Jeff George, just as far as he can throw it to whoever's down at the other end. So I'm fine if he doesn't hear that's one of the stats and tries to hit that for us, because it might end up being a 97-yarder for the other team. And then besides that would be the points. Points for the defense. I think we have the ability to take that one too. I think we have the ability to take that more than actually anybody else does. The way that it's set up right now, Don't raise your eyebrows. Are you serious? You're playing against the Niners. You don't think you're going to give up a couple of touchdowns? I mean, come on. I know that you love your field goal kicker and the guy Audrey or whatever is going to kick 6 field goals, but they're still going to score some touchdowns on you. So, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Randy.
Paul, you didn't hit on the
Astradamus.
Giants. You didn't hit on the Giants Dolphins game yet.
It's what was the? Let's
How
see,
could you
remind
forget
me.
that?
11.
Yeah,
11.
Come on.
70
He's
to
actually been
20.
pretty easy on me tonight.
70 to 20.
70 to 20. Well, I don't want to see you cry. People talk about you rage quitting stuff all the time, so I don't want to see you cry.
I ain't rage quitting, and like I said, I need this. This is like my therapy. I look forward to seeing.
Is this like Madden, and all of a sudden one day it's going to be like opponent has left the room? No, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad. If for some reason, like I think you got a better chance of being caught in the snow down there in Miami than you do of this being a competitive game. I don't think this is how this. Unfortunately, I don't think this is a good game to regain your confidence. I don't mean you, but like Daniel Jones. It's just not one that's going to help build the conference. You needed to play the Bears this week. That's what you needed. But you don't. You got the exact opposite. So good luck with that. Godspeed.
Appreciate it.
Go for it, Randy. What you got?
So as far as longest touchdowns, I have to say it's going to be either CeeDee Lamb or A.J. Brown. I don't see any. I know Scary Terry's getting better. He's picking up. But I see, again, it seems like when A.J. goes and blows up one week, they focus on him, and that opens it up for Johnson or whatever.
Devontae
Smith. Yeah, so I don't know. Again, he doesn't seem to be quite as much of a long bomb deep threat, but I like to say it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. As far as 20, I think that I'm sorry. I know you guys all don't believe in me. That's what happened week 1. I think we blow the doors off the Niners this week. I think it's going to be quite. I know it's impressive for someone that's like almost perfect in his picks to say that too, right? But no, I do. I think we blow the doors off.
I'm going to write that down right now for potential quote of the week next week.
What? Can I get a clarification on what blow the doors off really looks like on the stat sheet?
So I struggle with giving actual points because that's getting a little too close, but I think we beat them comfortably by at least a touchdown. Definitely cover the spread because we're underdogs, but I think we beat them comfortably.
Well, comfortably is not really a touchdown based on you said that the Eagles are winning all their games by an average of 10 points, and you kind of made that sound like that was a little. So.
Paul, let's put it this way. If we beat them by 7, the spread's -4. That means we beat the spread by 11. That's my comfort right there.
That's pretty good.
So
that's comfortable.
So
I don't like that logic.
I also think we score more than 20. Of course, you guys didn't believe in me week 1, and I told you guys you were all wrong, and week 2 for that matter. All that being said is, as far as the points, I definitely believe we're putting up the 21 points. I think that every team besides maybe the Eagles puts up the points they're supposed to this week.
Wow, you think we're putting up 20 points this week?
Yep, I do actually. That defense is awful. I actually think. You're going to make
Seattle's defense was supposed to be awful, and they look better than you.
No, but I actually think you're going to make that game competitive. And the Giants are pretty pissed off.
3 quarters.
What I like to see about that whole thing that happened with Danny Dimes and the coach is they're pissed. And when they're pissed, they're willing to do major changes, I think, to figure it out. I like to see that passion in both those people. I don't see you guys are saying they're having arguments and fallouts. No, I feel like when you're with someone and you're trying to figure it out, there's a lot of passion that comes out. And I think you're going to see a change. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but I think they cover the spread, the Giants. As far as the Commanders, I think it's a tight game. I don't think it's a blowout. The Bears, pretty angry, I think, after that loss. I feel like they should have came back and won that game, and they got it stolen from them. And as far as the Eagles-Rams, I think that the Eagles will win that game, but I think it's going to be a squeaker, just like every game the Eagles have.
Squeaker. Until
they start getting opponents that are worthwhile facing. That's my predictions on the games, guys. As far as I told you about the longest touchdown. Points scored, or it was a defense. I cut out for a minute when we were
Points
doing
allowed.
that.
Fewest points allowed for
Fewest points allowed.
Mm.
I think that's going to be either the Cowboys or the Redskins. Commanders, sorry. But predictions for the week. There you go.
Surprise, surprise. We disagree again on almost every point.
And you've been wrong on almost every point.
All right. So we're making a turnaround right here. This is where we're going to do it. Kind of looking at this week's slate, I'll go into our little internal competition first. I think points allowed. I think Washington is going to win that one. No disrespect to the Bears, but I think it's a Thursday night game. Thursday night games have been kind of sluggish. They are weird at times. I think Dallas is going to put up some points. I think they're going to, go over or be right around the 20 mark. And I think Chicago may put up 13. So I'm going to go with Washington for the fewest points allowed. Longest touchdown, I mean, that's like going to FanDuel and doing anytime touchdown scores. Like, it's just a crapshoot, in my opinion. I mean, CeeDee Lamb could have a 60-yard catch, or Devontae could have a 48-yard catch. I have no idea. I will take Devontae just because that's my boy.
it could be a punt return.
Could be a punt return. Could be an interception. Like, who knows? Could be a run. I don't know. Over under for team. I think we're going to score over 27.5. I think we're going to have to if we're going to win. I think we're going to need to score 34, 35 to win, just to be honest with you. I think Washington goes over 25. I think Dallas goes right just over 20.5. And I think the Giants score close to 20 as well. I think we all go over, to be honest with you.
You guys are more optimistic than me this week.
Yeah, and
I told you they broke me, man. I wanted to root for them. I wanted to be optimistic, but they need to show me something.
I think the only thing that is going to prevent the Giants from scoring 20 points, I sort of agree with Randy on this one. I think it could be a bounce back game for them. I think it's their time to get right. I think Miami's defense isn't the best, but I think what's against you is it's going to be 90 degrees down there. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. And it's going to be difficult. I think you have an opportunity to put up points. But we'll see. I think you guys are going to lose. Ultimately, I think Miami is a better team. I think Miami will win, but I think you're going to be respectable. I think, like you mentioned, third quarter. I think at the end of the third quarter, that's when it gets a little out of hand. And I see the Giants losing by 14 plus. But I see it
100%.
being close to a game in the third quarter.
Exactly.
Washington, I think Washington goes Thursday night special. I think they win that game. Like I said, I don't think the Bears score a lot, 13 maybe at the most, 14. And I think Washington wins that. I think they do what they did against us. I think it's ball control. I think they run. Probably put up 26, 27 points. Dallas game, I think Chris said it, I believe. I think Dallas could be in trouble. I think this is the game that shows me how good they are. I think they're either going to kick 5 field goals, or Dak's going to have a hell of a game. I think that they're going to lose to the 49ers. I think Sunday night in San Fran, I think that's a tough call for them. I think it's going to be.
There's the reminder for you, Randy.
Yeah.
Cowboys play 8:20 on
Sunday night.
I'm in Central Time right now, 7:20.
Gotcha. I think it's going to be difficult for Dallas. I think, I think the 49ers are a good team. Right now, every win counts. Kind of looking at the Birds game, I'm going to be interested. I think Cooper Kupp is eligible to practice this week. So
I did not know that.
No,
He's not coming off.
I know he's not coming off yet. But I know they got 2 dudes that are lighting it up that kind of scare me because they're both out. One plays the slot, the other plays the outside, and they're putting up decent numbers. I think Stafford's throwing the ball all over the place. And now that
Looks good, man.
Cam Akers is gone, they kind of have their running back who's not having a great year, but he's having a decent year. I think it all depends on what we do with Bradbury. Do we keep Bradbury inside as a more of a nickel down the hill guy, or do we put him back outside opposite of Slay, and then bring in Roby, bring in somebody to fill that spot? I think that we'll be successful. I think this is where we start to click. I think we start to run the ball, and I think we have a balanced attack. I look for us, like I said, I think we got to score 34, 35 to be victorious here, and I'm going to go with the Birds.
You know, Greg, if Cooper Kupp were playing, I'd pick the Rams hands down. But I feel like without them, I feel like there's too many pieces missing. Hybee's possibly injured.
Yeah, Tyler Higbee's. I think he is out from what I heard.
It's questionable right now.
Okay,
questionable. Yeah.
And their young receivers at some point are probably going to come down to earth. This might be that week to do that. Too.
Well,
right, they're playing against good corners. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it just shows that like it's not just a system, but it's a system out there. You know, it's designed for you to get 10. I mean, people can get 10 catches a game. Cooper's been doing it for what, the last 4 years straight. And that rookie comes in and he's been doing it too.
Yeah. Going back to the Cowboys matchup, I think it's going to be really interesting to watch. I think the best running back, probably maybe besides Adrian Peterson the past 10 years, CMC against Michael Parsons. I think that is going to be really awesome to watch. I think that's going to be interesting to see who wins that battle. Obviously, I'd like to say hands down the Dallas defense is really good, but Christian McCaffrey is the best running back right now on the field, and it's going to be interesting.
Running right at Parsons.
Yeah, got to do
it. I will say what the Cardinals did is they ran away from Parsons, and they put up 222 yards. So I disagree with you on that. But it's not the first time we've all been wrong.
Oh, Randy.
I think that's a great way to end it.
All right, guys.
Randy, you guys have all, I say it a lot every week, but you guys have all been just amazingly on point with game analysis. I mean, just from week 1 to week 4, it's been incredible with the non-NFC East family. So watch you guys call out the things that have happened here 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, Mike, just clear out the guys and say you have been right on.
You have been right on, Randy. I mean, you didn't get Nostradamus' name for no reason. So you have been ahead of the team here as a whole. But, I mean, it's even fewer things. Paul called another one this week. He pointed it out last week of what was going to happen in Washington and Philly. Could not have been more on point, down to his quarterback being sacked a bunch of times. I mean, everything he said about the way that game was going to go, it happened. So, I mean, like, even when not just the score predictions, but Corey Dixon.
Unfortunately, he cannot hear you, fellas.
Tell Corey to tell everyone like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
What about
shock the world?
Our boy at Jimbo_Mont on X.
Friendship, man. He knows I'm getting beat up.
This week as well with the Philly.
He came to my rescue. It was my best friend.
Playoffs.
Yeah.
He still sucks.
All right, guys, that's our show for this week. We'll be back to recap this week next week and look forward to week 6. Talk to you soon.
Go Birds.
All right, fellas. Good seeing you guys.
See ya.